Hello and welcome back to another tutorial by iSales Solutions. I'm Matthew Salas, and today I want to talk a little bit about how you can manage clients in Pipedrive. Now, we've talked about managing leads and deals in Pipedrive. Those talk about sales opportunities, but what happens after the sale? There's a couple of different options. You could use other tools to manage post-sale and onboarding processes, but depending on the type of company you run, you might be able to do something in Pipedrive itself. Now, Pipedrive does not have an accounts tab like you would see in some other CRMs like HubSpot. I think HubSpot has it, or Salesforce definitely does. But there are a couple workarounds and different tools that you can use. So the first question you have to ask is, what type of service or do you offer, right? If you offer a kind of project-based service where somebody pays for something and then you give them you implement something for them, you create something for them, then it's really easy to use the pipeline view. Whereas if you just work with existing clients, maybe they feed you referrals, maybe they need you for recruiting purposes, like you're a HR company, or maybe you are an insurance company, right? And you have companies, your clients that fill out a certain number of insurance checks every single month or whatever it is. That's where the process is a little bit more complex. It doesn't work as well, but there's a couple different options to make something work, right? So let's start with option number one, where you have a specific defined project that you're trying to implement or create. Again, that could be implementing a tool like we do, implementing Pipedrive for clients. It could be a construction company that's doing remodels, that's doing installing new windows or whatever it is. Those types of projects, that's the easiest to implement in Pipedrive itself. So for something like that to work, here's what you'd be looking at. First things first, you'd have a deal come work its way through the sales pipeline. And at the end of the sales pipeline, when you're ready to go, let me just put in a value here. I have some required fields in my demo account here. Good. Let me take off this tag. All right. So when you're ready to go, you would file the deal as one. So let's say, for example, you might have that once the deal enters the contract sign stage, it automatically is filed as one. Maybe once the contract is signed, there's a couple activities that are automatically generated for you, and it's like to start the onboarding process, send the welcome email. You check that as complete, and maybe use that as a trigger to mark the deal as one. However you get the deal as one, that can then trigger the next thing. So in this case, what I am suggesting, for example, is you could push those deals that have a finite project, a finite deliverable, into a projects pipeline. And this is something that might look like. As you saw, I just filed a deal as one as a sales pipeline, and I have automation running in the background that automatically creates a duplicate of that deal and pushes that duplicate of the deal into the projects pipeline. A projects pipeline for you, for example, for us, this is a more or less an example of what we do. We have the onboarding process where it starts with, we have a couple tasks we have to do once we onboard a new client. We have basic account implementation, advanced account implementation, training, and then the project complete. At each of those stages, it's really easy to see what are the activities that have to be done under that stage. So that's one way to do it. Again, if it's like a construction company, you might have the deposit made, and then the next stage might be something, if it's a construction company, like you got the plans confirmed by the client, you got all the building materials, you scheduled the construction date, and then the construction started, and then construction complete. You might have something like that for a project's pipeline, right? Now, a couple other things happened in the background, but I'll explain that when we talk about what you do, for example, if you do not have a finite deliverable. So let's say again that maybe you're an insurance company, maybe you are an HR staffing company, and you have clients that sign on to work with you, but then they're feeding you work over time, and you have to work to build up that relationship to get more work from them in the future so they can pay you more money. Something like that, you have three different options. You can either use a pipeline as more of like a visualization of like buckets where the clients fall into. You can use the standard contacts tab, or you could use the professional feature, the contacts timeline. Let's take a look at what it might look like for using the pipeline. So I'm actually going to push this deal over to that pipeline so we can just kind of see an example of it. So if you don't have a finite product, again, like I mentioned, you might not use a project's pipeline, but instead you might use like an existing client's pipeline. Again, this is totally dependent on the type of business that you run. But let's say that it is an insurance business. You might have something where it's low volume, medium volume, high volume, and then VIP clients. So the people who use you the most. In this case, these stages are more like buckets just to visualize how many clients you have in each stage, about how much revenue they're bringing you, and kind of what general categories they're divided into. In this kind of setup here, the goal would be is based on the bucket that they're in, the stage that they're in, you might have different follow-up sequences for them. So for a low volume client, you'd be trying to push them up to higher volume. So maybe you would reach out to them every week you're in contact with them. Whereas if the medium volume, it might be every 7 or 8 days. And if it's high volume, you might be, reaching out to them a little bit less frequently because you're already in contact for the different requests that they have. Or it might be the opposite, right? But either way, you can use those buckets to visualize, where your clients currently sit and where you want them to go. This bucket strategy, honestly, for me, for the clients that I've worked with who've used this strategy, it's really just up to the individual users to stay on top of it. For some people, if you don't stay on top of it, it really isn't too helpful. Now, the other option is, so let's say that you have these ongoing relationships with clients. It's not a finite project. Well, what you can do is you can have the sales pipeline. At the end of the sales pipeline, you might have a specific onboarding pipeline that includes a number of steps. And then after that, what you do is you transition just to the contacts tab. So in here, what you see that we've done, for example, is that when a deal is filed as one in the sales pipeline, automatically we file that as we label that organization as a customer, as we have here. And what you're able to do is you're able to customize your views within the contacts tab, whether you work from the people organizations tab. I recommend the persons tab. You can customize your table, right? So you might want to see the label, the name, the organization, the last activity that happened, the next activity, email, and phone. And you can use this kind of sheet view, this column view to see who you should reach out to and when. If you have to send out an email blast to them saying, hey, I have a live webinar tomorrow, sign up here if you want to, get more information about the event. You can do that from this tab, right? And not only can you customize the columns that you have here, but in addition to that, you can customize the filters that you use. So this, for example, is a filter that I set up where we have a number of conditions here. First, we are on the person tab, right? But we're looking for all people whose related organization is labeled as a customer, right? In addition to that, we're looking for the ones where I, the current user, is the organization owner. And finally, we're looking for the main contact people. Throughout the sales process, you may have bumped heads with or had contact with 10 different people in an organization, but maybe at the end of the day, there's just a couple people who you need to keep in contact with after the sale to make sure that you continue to build that relationship. So those people at the person level, you might be able to tag as the main contact person, right? And that can just be a person custom field. So with these three settings here, I've identified, okay, I have 9 current clients that I need to keep in track of. I can see when I've last contacted them, and I can see when I have the next contact opportunity with them. Now, off of this as well, we can also create automations just out of this contact tab, right? You can say once a new person or organization has been labeled as a customer, schedule a follow-up with them on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, whatever it is, you can schedule that as an automated activity, and you can make it repeating just using another workflow that says once the last activity is marked as complete, schedule the next one, right? So that's one way to do it, and this is honestly what I think is the cleanest and easiest way for Pipedrive users who do not have a finite deliverable, how they can manage their current clients in Pipedrive, just by really diving into and leaning on the person and organization tabs, and really customizing their table view and the filters that they're using to keep on top of the current clients when they last had contact with them and when the next contact is scheduled for. The final view, the final way that you can manage current clients in Pipedrive if you do not have a finite project is using the contacts timeline. The contacts timeline is a feature that is only available for the professional plan, and the added benefit of this is you can still look at people, organizations. You can still use your custom filters and say I only look at my my current customers, but you can see that on timeline view. So you can see what types of activities you've had with that client over time, and you can quickly and easily add additional activities to your view. So for example, here, if we just look at the normal timeline, you can see, okay, with these people here, with the test George contact, we had a note added back here, and you click on it on July 13th, you can see what it was. You can see here, all right, for this test Matthew Isalis contact, we had a note added here, and we had a deal added from that time. And you can see the color of the deal, and you can click on it and everything, so on and so forth. Now, you can go a little bit beyond this. First, again, you can see that you can switch back and forth between people and organizations. You can say, okay, I only want to look at this timeline, but all I'm interested in seeing is the deals that I've had with each of these contacts. Or I'm only interested in seeing the phone calls or meetings that I've had with these contacts. Well, then you can unclick these other things, and then you have a more clear view of, okay, this is when I've had a meeting or a call with these different contacts, right? You can see going backwards, and you can also see a little bit into the future as well. So the timeline in terms of how far you can go back is decided right here. You can go up to 12 months back, and you can also filter by user or by your custom filters as well, right? Now, in addition to this, to help highlight even more which contacts you need to spend a little bit more time with, you can set up this follow-up frequency. So the follow-up frequency, you'd have to turn it on, but you can say, okay, I want to make sure that with all of my current clients, I follow up with them on a monthly basis. And in this case, if it was a monthly basis, you can see, 8 of my 9 current clients I'm overdue with. I need to contact them because I haven't done it recently. Or you might say, okay, I need to contact them just biannually. Then only 2 of those 9 contacts would have to be contacted because they haven't been contacted yet. When you go to contact them, you can just click on the name, open up the file, and send them an email. Or you can go over to the plus sign right here, and you can add in an activity, create a deal for them, or add a note for them in order to be able to, schedule that next activity and follow up with them as you should. So that's pretty much it in terms of your options of handling account management or client management in Pipedrive. Again, if you're on the finite projects or deliverable side, it is a really good idea to use a different pipeline for that. You can automatically create a new deal in that project's pipeline and work them through specific project or deliverable phases. Whereas if you have a kind of ongoing relationship with your client where you might be doing work, with them over time, and you're trying to increase the amount of work you do with them, that's why you have a couple different options. Again, option 1 is you use something like a pipeline and you use like a bucket strategy. Option 2 is you really lean into using the contacts tab, right? People and organizations, using customized filters and at the personal organization level to see what your current contacts are. And setting up, follow-up sequences using automations that way. Finally, the last thing to do is using a contacts tab, the contacts timeline, where you're able to see, on a timeline view, who you reach out to, and Pipedrive will highlight who you need to follow up with. The one benefit I'll say about using the pipelines, whether it's the finite deliverable projects pipeline or the more nebulous existing clients pipeline with the buckets, is that it's much easier to report on stuff if you have a pipeline and a deal associated with it. Now, on the other side, in terms of keeping just things clean in Pipedrive, using the contacts tab, either the contacts timeline or these different sections, can be extremely useful for keeping track of the number of opportunities. So again, let's say that it is you're an HR staffing company, and every time you're hired to fill a new position for them, you open up a new deal for them. So if that were the case, what you do is you would say, okay, I want to look at the list of my current customers. I can see who I've recently contacted and who I still need to contact, right? And then from the deal file, or from the say like the person organization file, you're able to see what current deals you have open for that client, which would be, for example, what positions you're currently trying to fill for the client. And when you go to create a new deal, to say you're filling a new position for them, all you'd have to do is hit this add new deal button and add them to the pipeline you want, right? So I've presented a couple of different options for all of you. It really depends on each of your business what would be best if you decide to use Pipedrive. Obviously, if you do not want to use Pipedrive, you can use other tools as well that can integrate with Pipedrive, stuff like Asana or Trello or Basecamp. Whatever you want to continue tracking those, active clients and the work you're doing with them. But Pipedrive does have a couple of options available to it. At this point, that's the end of this tutorial video. If you like this video, please like, comment, and share the video. Please remember to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. You are able to sign up for a consultation session with us if you want down below. And then also, we are certified Pipedrive partners. We have an affiliate link in the comments if you want to sign up for a Pipedrive account. Down in the description, you can see that. And same thing for Loom. We record these videos on Loom. And if you'd like to try Loom out for yourself, we have an affiliate link in the description for that as well. All right, see you in the next tutorial video.